Yeah, perfect. So I suppose I'll get started then. It's 1 minute past. So yes, I'm just going to talk about the Fedora Accessibility Working Group and why do we need it. So before I get started then, just a brief overview on who I am in case none of you have seen me before. So I joined Red Hat as an intern in July 2021, and that would have been when I got first introduced to Fedora. At the moment, I'm an associate software engineer at Red Hat Community Platform Engineering, so that I've been in that position since March of this year. And I mainly participate in the community design team. I also do a little bit in the web and apps team as well. And then myself and Vipul would have launched the Fedora Accessibility Working Group in August 2022. So shout out to him. I hope he's in the audience to help me with the Q&A after this. So what will be discussed? So what is the Fedora Accessibility Working Group? Why should accessibility be considered? Different types of diverse abilities and solutions to consider, as well as accessibility as a council objective and the roadmap for the Accessibility Working Group. So what is the Fedora Accessibility Working Group? So this was a nice paragraph typed up by Vipul. A team of Fedora contributors who care about accessibility and digital inclusion for both Fedora Linux and the Fedora community with support and guidance by the Diversity, Equity and Inclusion team. We want Fedora to become the all-accessible Linux provider and community that empowers everyone to thrive. So that's a very nice statement there. So why should accessibility be considered? So the World Health Organization has stated that 15% of the world population is experiencing some sort of disability. So that equates to around 1 billion people worldwide. And that's a significant chunk of the human population, and they should not be left facing barriers in accessing software or the internet. So types of diverse abilities. So I just broke them down into 4 headings. They're very broad headings now, just for the sake of this talk. I'm just going to talk through each one of them just so you can kind of get an idea of what what people with these diverse abilities interact with their software. So visual then. So we have blindness. So blind people usually use screen readers to access to navigate through their computer. So screen readers are software programs. What they do basically is they just read the text on the screen back to the reader. They can come with some drawbacks though as well, and they can overwhelm the user. Color blindness. So color blindness comes in a variety of different forms. Color should never be used as the primary signal for information in good design, and the colors on every computer monitor are going to be a bit different. There are just some things to consider. These are just examples of some braille displays that blind people can use. So what you can see at the bottom on the right hand one and in the middle of the bottom of the left hand one and the middle of the right hand one is just like a little braille display. So when the screen reader is reading over a line of text, it'll just get displayed then in braille on that braille reader. And as well, the one on the right, some people won't use a conventional keyboard, so they just use shortcuts then to navigate through their software. And this is just a little infographic then on colorblind types. It mainly affects the male population, with 8% of them being colorblind, and then 0.5% of the female population would be colorblind then as well, have some form of colorblindness. We also have low vision. So low vision, there's different degrees of sight loss and come in a lot of different forms. Some users with low vision use braille, others use larger fonts, and there are those who read normal size print with an optical device. So that would usually be a magnifying glass, whether it's a digital magnifying glass or an actual magnifying glass. So some solutions we can consider then for those different issues. So for blind people then, reduce clutter on the screen. Be aware of the screen reader's lack of understanding of the semantics of web material. So, myself would say a sighted person, I'd be able to, quickly skim read over the information on the page and quickly locate, where the information I need is. Whereas a screen reader is a machine that's not able to do that. So, just to be aware of that, maybe include a skip to main contents link or a table of contents. So when it's reading that first, the user is able to, navigate quickly to what they're looking for instead of reading through everything. Use text alternatives for non-textual content. So if you have an image, just make sure you have a line of text explaining what's in the image. So, so people who are using screen readers don't feel like they're missing out on some important information. Provide text-based PDFs over image-based. So that would kind of be more in educational settings when a lecturer or a teacher would photocopy say a page out of a book and then use that as a handout for the class, or they might share it as a PDF. Just make sure that that PDF is actually text-based and not image-based, because if it's image-based, the screen reader won't be able to read it. If it's a picture of the page, it's not going to be able to read it. So just make sure you have a text-based PDF in those kind of situations. For color blindness then, use a monochromatic color scheme. High contrast improves readability. Make use of existing color schemes. So what you can do is you can look up, existing colorblind safe themes, and you'll be able to incorporate them then into, your software or your web page, whatever you're doing. Avoid color coding. We'll just hide that there. Avoid color coding for infographics. So don't rely solely on color if you're using bar charts or pie charts. Make sure you add in like a pattern or something like that, just so, if someone is colorblind, they can still read that information. And that's just an example there of a colorblind safe bar chart. So you can see on the right-hand side, there's just different patterns and textures within the bar chart. For low vision then, so as I said before, text magnification is a standard method to support reading for people with limited vision. Magnification comes at the cost of reduced overview of the body of the text. What's found to work is increasing the letter spacing, and the actual letter width as well can help with clarity in reading a page within low vision users. That's quite interesting as well. Auditory. So more than 5% of the population has a hearing impairment. The deaf population has societal issues resulting in isolation, low self-esteem, and discrimination. Captions or transcripts are required for deaf users, especially in those educational settings, like I said before, because I know a lot of the well-known educational institutions like Harvard have gotten in big trouble before for their online courses when they haven't provided captions or transcripts for the online classes. So captions can be added to videos either manually or automatically. I know YouTube has the automatic captioning. I know Hopin, the platform we're using now, has automatic captioning as well. So that's great. I just want to say, if the video is getting published afterwards, say on YouTube, just go back over those captions and make sure that they're accurate, because I know, like myself, I have an accent, it might pick up the wrong words. And provide transcripts where required as well. So I know YouTube provides that too. You're able to go into the settings and you're able to find a transcript then of everything that was said in the video. So this is just an example then of YouTube's live captioning, which is great. Physical then. So examples of physical impairments include weakness and limitations of muscular control, limitations of sensations, joint disorders, pain that impedes your movement, and missing limbs. Users may require more time to type, to use their mouse, or engage in other interactions. So this is just an example then of a user using a mouse head stick keyboard. As you can see, they're not using a mouse, they just solely rely on the keyboard to navigate through their computer. So solutions then. So keyboard alternatives for all mouse functionalities, just for users who can't use a mouse. Ensuring the font size can be increased. Make sure it's easily increased as well. It's not difficult to do. Skip to main contents link. So that's similar back to the screen reader. So, if someone's using keyboard shortcuts to navigate through a page, especially if they have some, joint weakness or anything like that, they can get easily fatigued. So it'd be good to have a skip to main contents link so they don't have to scroll through, a load of information to get what they're looking for. Large clickable elements. So just make sure that, buttons are big enough. So people who aren't as accurate with using a mouse can click them easily. And confirmation of information before submission. So that would apply to kind of like forms and things like that. So just make sure that when they click submit, that little pop-up comes up just asking if they're sure in case they click that button on accident. And it will just avoid the hassle then of having to, refill out the form or sending incomplete information. And then the last one then is cognitive. So the majority of the WAI principles are geared towards people with visual and movement disabilities. The COGA, so that would be W3C's Cognitive and Learning Disability Task Force, has published recommendations for user group research on 8 specific cognitive disabilities. So this would be dyslexia, aphasia, nonverbal, Down syndrome, autism, dyscalculia, age-related cognitive decline, and attention deficit disorder. So when I was researching this, there is not a lot of research provided for this area. It's probably because within cognitive impairments, there is such a broad range of diversity in intellectual disabilities. Different accessibility measures have different impacts on non-disabled web users. So say if for a certain cognitive disability or cognitive impairment, it might say have this button that takes up like a quarter of the page, but then that would negatively impact then my impact on using the website. So there's different things to kind of take into consideration there. What would be the best thing would be hold user testing sessions with, a diverse group of people, and then you'd be able to kind of get the feedback from those users and implement them then into the design of your software or your web page. So accessibility is a council objective. So I know improving accessibility is part of Fedora's long-term strategy. So I just linked a post on discussion there by Matthew Miller, and just a quote there from that post. So the Fedora project envisions a world where everyone benefits from free and open source software built by inclusive, welcoming, and open-minded communities. So I think it's great that it's going to be an objective as part of the council and Mindshare communities. If I'm wrong on that, let me know. I'm just taking what was said on that post. But yeah, it's amazing. So yes, then just roadmap for Fedora accessibility. So we're just getting started. This is just a rough outline of what we hope to achieve. I know Vipul has a lot more visions and goals he wants to achieve as well. So the first one then, launch a survey about accessibility tools and assistive technologies in the Linux ecosystem. So not just Fedora, we want to see what's out there for, all of Linux. Collect and organize that data then. Identify key recommendations and priorities for improved Linux accessibility that Fedora Linux could improve on from its results. Work with other special interest groups to achieve the recommendations from the accessibility survey for different Fedora platforms, and then work on accessibility guideline specifics to the Fedora project. So I know at the minute we do have an accessibility guide, but it is very out of date. So what I'd like to see is just a more up-to-date version of that, just so if, say, a user is coming to Fedora who's visually impaired and they want to see what, if they're actually able to use Fedora, what accessible tools do they have integrated into their operating system. I'd love to just have all that in one specific place and have, just a little hub there, and they know who to contact then as well if they ever, need to know more information about that. Yeah, so if you want to join, so if you're interested in contributing, you can join us at the below channels. I just linked the Discourse Forum, the IRC, Element, Telegram, all part of the Fedora diversity group. At the minute, we're a subcategory in the diversity team meetings. So I know they are bi-weekly and they alternate between late and early meetings just to kind of compensate for the time zones. So please join us if you are interested in any of that. And thank you so much for listening to this. I hope I didn't race through that. Let me see. I'll just stop my screen. Thanks, everyone. I'm only seeing the chat there now because I'm only limited to one screen today. I don't know if Vipul is here, but I'll look at the Q&A regardless. Did you know if FESCO is aware of the accessibility working group, they might be able to help establish some standards for the Fedora operating system? I'm not entirely sure. I kind of rely on Vipul for more of kind of the technical side of things, because I know he kind of knows a lot more about how Fedora works, like the community and stuff like that. So I kind of rely on him for those kind of things. Sorry, I'm just reading through the chat there now. The colorblind safe palette for Fedora colors. Yeah, I saw that. I know that was in some of the assets, and I know Jess Chitas from the Fedora design team, she's working on a brand book as well, and that also includes the colorblind safe theme as well. So once that's up on the website, that would be a great resource to have. Confirmation is great for people with ADHD that might have mistakes and click. Yeah, that's true. And I know also with timing of forums and things like that can be great, or not great, can be not great for people, especially with like anxiety. It can kind of stress them out a bit more. So it's good to kind of not include things like that. I think another important part of this work will be collaborating with upstreams. This is a good reason to have something related to this. The council objective helps cross-project awareness, but an objective needs to be something more focused as the strategy comes together. I think this will be more clear. Yeah, I think once we do the survey and get the feedback from the survey and kind of see where our specific pain points are, and you know what other tools are out there that we can integrate into Fedora Linux, you know, it'll be kind of more clear then of what we're going to be doing or what goals we're going to have. Yeah, so does anyone have any other questions? I know I'm not the best at answering questions. This is my second time doing that talk, and on the first talk at the Fedora Week of Diversity. Thanks, Matthew. Thanks, Marie. Thanks, everyone. You're so nice. Thanks, everyone. Does anyone have any other questions before I drop off? I know I flew through that. Very eye-opening. Yeah, like I think the approach to take is very empathic approach, because it's good to kind of see where your users are coming from and how they interact with your software. You know, it is really good. Will there be studies of accessibility standards for government procurements? I'm not entirely sure. Will there be studies of accessibility standards? I know at the minute it's just starting at the minute, but there is accessibility happening within Red Hat, and they are hoping to do a bit with Fedora too. What can Mindshare do to help with the working group? I think at the minute it's just to kind of get, you know, up and running. I know the last few meetings I haven't been available because I was on vacation, but hopefully, I think the next one was November 7th, I think Luna said. So, you know, just kind of get the ball rolling with that, get the survey up and running, get all the questions, and just kind of start from there. It just needs to get started, really. That's the main thing. Well, the vacation is where I broke my ankle, so. Mindshare could help promote the meeting and survey. Yeah, true. Yeah, that would be great. I know I've posted on Discourse before, so I'll also post there as well. But yeah, it would be great once we actually get that survey, and once the questions are out for the survey, just get them reviewed as well, because I've never written a survey like that before. I know the diversity team can help me with that too, just to kind of revise those questions and make sure they're okay. Does the group have docs set up yet? No. So I got a GitLab space set up within the Fedora GitLab. So that's hopefully where I'm going to have all that information, because I know that's where Fedora Docs kind of has all their things there as well. So that's set up, ready to go. So I just need to get all the information and resources available and just get started that as well. Yeah, exactly. Within Fedora, we are a very diverse group of people. So it is a good community to kind of have, hold those testing sessions and things like that. Thanks for that, Ricard. So thank you all very much for listening to me today. It wasn't as nerve-wracking as I thought it would be. So, so thanks everyone. See ya.